The definition purpose of Maxim. Herbert Paul Greish, 1705, come with the important idea, namely the idea that speaker cooperate and development a physical conversation. The cooperation, even when there are in a way they still planning again together, a language game. So all speakers design their understanding in inquiring with certain norms of talk and can expect everyone to do so. Maxim including Maxim including in stational context. In simple define, messing has the meaning as an expression or statement that can make a conversation run effective and understandable for a speaker. Comparative principles are divided into four principles called the green chain maxim or grace maxim. Purpose of maxim are a way to explain the link between understands and what is uh, under.
Operative principle. First is maxim of quality. The maxim indicates that the participants don't say out of the truth what they believe. Try to make the contribution one that is true, so there is no reason for the participants not to understand each other. So the speaker says only what they believe to be true. For example, Rudy said, "Is Australia in Europe?" And funny answer, "No, but Australia in Asia." So from this conversation shows that Rudy give the wrong statement to Fanny and Fanny gives statement with maxim of quality or says the truth to Rudy.
I will explain about the maxim of quantity. The category of the quantity relates of the information to be provided to say as informative as required for the current purposes of the exchange. The suitor should not make the contribution more or less because the communication between addressers and addresser will be misunderstood. Specifically, this maxim states, but the first one is to make your contribution as informative as required for current purposes of the exchange. And then for the second one is do not make your contribution more or information than is required. So here they, for example, there are conversation between Jenny and Amanda. Jenny asks, "What will you buy in the market?" And then Amanda replied, "I will buy only some fruits." Yeah, from here the example shows that Amanda gives sufficient information to Jenny. She says without redundancy, and responses what are Jenny needed to ask. Her remark is appropriate. So it is explanation about the quantity of maxim. Thank you.
Maxim of quantity. The category of quantity relates to the quantity of information to be provided. The participants have to say as informative as is required for the current purpose of the exchange. They should not make their contribution more or less informative because the communication between the addresses and addressor will be misunderstanding. Specifically, this maxim states the first is make your contribution as informative as it is required or for current purpose of the exchange. The second is do not make your contribution more informative than is required. For example, Jenny, "What will you buy in the market?" Amanda, "I'll buy only some fruits." The example shows that Amanda gives sufficient information to Jenny. She says, without redundancy, and responds what are Jenny need to ask. Her remark is appropriate to quantify maxim.
Maxim of relation. The maxim states that each participant contribution should be relevant to the subject of the conversation. In other words, people's contribution engaged in conversation should be relevant to the subject of the conversation itself. For example, Paddy, have you finished your thesis? Cheryl, yes, I have. In example, Paddy only needs the Cheryl answer is yes or no. Cheryl answer relate to Paddy's question. She has said something what she should say. It will be different easy when Cheryl answer, do you know, Andy? The reason is between Cheryl answer and Paddy's question are not relevant and have no connection.
Maxim of manner. This maxim is not like previous categories, but it is rather how the speaker used the language to convey the message. Cruz points out that the maxim of manner cautions the speaker to be methodological and to avoid ambiguity, prolixity, and obscurity. It states 1. Avoid obscurity of experience. 2. Avoid ambiguity. 3. Be brief. In the bracket, avoid unnecessary prolixity. Be orderly. For example, Randy, where are you going? George, I'm going to buy something to put on a letter. In example, George explored his purpose to go. There is no ambiguity or obscurity in his utterance. He also answered in a brief utterance.
Conclusion. Maxim is a way to make the hearer look for the real meaning beyond what is said implicitly by the speaker. Maxims are the rules to know whether the speaker can be cooperative or not, while they contributes the information in conversation. By floating maxims, the participants of the conversation seems to be uncooperative, but actually they do. The participants themselves have certain intentions of floating the maxims. There are some intended meanings and certain purposes which are conveyed by the speaker behind the utterance where maxims floating occurs. The maxims, the participants are not said to be uncooperative in a conversation. Thank you.